Before we go out to the car, we're going to pre-assemble a couple components on the set to make it a little bit easier. The first thing is going to be installing these rubber washers on the back of the brackets. You want to make sure that the hole in the side of the washer lines up with the hole in the bracket. So we're going to pre-install these offset nuts. The hardware for this is stainless steel, so we're going to want to make sure that we use anti-seize on these to prevent galling. Each bolt gets a washer, and then the offset nut will be threaded on just a few threads. Next, we're going to put the sockets on the struts themselves. These are straightforward, just need to thread them on, and hand tight will be good enough. Alignment won't matter. The arm of the strut will actually rotate in the body, so we can align those when we go to install them. Each of these sockets has a small clip on it that will retain the ball once we install it, but in order to put in the balls, we'll need to remove the clip and then reinstall it. In order to take it off, you just push on the rounded section here and it'll pop off the body, and then you can pull the pin out. Once you snap the ball in, you'll want to reinstall this clip, but for now I'll leave them installed so they don't get lost. And that's it for pre-assembly. The first step is going to be removing both headlights from the car. This is a pretty straightforward process, and I'm assuming you've most likely already done it once or twice on the car. Starting on the passenger side, the offset T-nut will go into the hole in the frame rail closest to the cabin. Once you've got that in place, snug up that bolt, but don't tighten it down all the way. Next, the clamp bracket at the top will be put on. I opted to put some foam on this bracket, but it's not necessary. I do recommend using anti-seize on these bolts as well. Once that's snugged up, we can go ahead and tighten down all 3 bolts and make sure there's no play in the bracket. Moving up to the hood, we're going to go ahead and install the upper ball mount. Make sure to use anti-seize on this one as well, and tighten it down with the provided nylock nut. Now we can go ahead and install the first strut. Remember to remove the clips that we looked at earlier, and then we're going to apply some of the provided grease onto each of the balls so that they run smoothly once installing them in the sockets. With the larger end of the strut upwards, go ahead and snap on the socket and then reinstall the clip. Now we can reorient the lower socket and install that on the bracket. In order to do this, it'll be easier to have an extra hand because you'll need to lift the hood up a little bit higher than it sits on the OEM support bar. Once it's snapped in place, make sure everything can move freely and then reinstall the clip. And the passenger side is done. The driver's side installation will be a little bit more complicated. You'll need to remove the intake hose and battery, and then loosen the battery tray and fuse box. There's 2 mounts for the fuse box, the first being exposed on the top, and the second is a nut hidden down behind it, pretty much just below the grounding point. Once you've got those out of the way, we can go ahead and install the offset nut. Again, this is going to go in the hole closest to the cabin. I didn't realize it at this point, but it will actually be easier if you run the hoses for the windshield washing fluid on the other side of the bracket and have them go up and over. You can do it after installation, but it'll be much easier if you do it while you're installing the bracket. Once you've got the bracket in place, you can go ahead and install it just like you did the opposite side. There. Once everything is in place, go ahead and reinstall the fuse box, battery tray, battery, and intake hose. Make sure you've routed the hoses in a spot where they're not going to get rubbed through or pinched when you close the hood. If you need to, add a couple zip ties to keep them in place. Now that the hard part is done, we can go back up to the hood. You will need to pull out this little clip that holds in the hood hose, but it comes out pretty easily. Use the provided sticky base to zip tie the hose in a spot where it won't get pinched when you close the hood and won't bind with the struts. Now we install the upper ball mount on this side, and we'll go ahead and repeat the strut installation just like on the other side. When installing the clips, make sure the post goes through both holes in the socket. Sometimes it'll get caught and not go through the upper mount. And now you're finished. You can go ahead and remove the OEM support bar and enjoy your new hood struts.